Hello, soon-to-be citizen. You're about to receive a title that will have a great significance in the rest of your life in these magnificent United States of America. Before you become nationalized in this country, here are a few things you should know about. Did you know about the Fourth Amendment? As a citizen, it is a right that all of one's property, including papers, effects, houses, and even as well as their own personal self, cannot be searched or seized without the proper warrant with probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. So basically, FBI and police need a warrant in order to stop and search you, your possessions, car, house, with probable cause. They can also search you if you are fleeing the scene of a crime or in hot pursuit.
Officer, what are you doing?
I'm searching your pockets.
For what?
You have drugs on you, I know it.
You can't do this.
On whose authority?
The Fourth Amendment's authority.
I'll be back with a warrant.
Hey guys, did you also know about the Eighth Amendment? Basically, excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Bail is a sum of money or property given to the court as a promise that you will return for your trial. If the accused fails to show up for your trial, you lose your bail. Bail is assigned on the type of crime committed and the likelihood that you will return for your trial. The greater the seriousness of the crime, the higher the bail. Bail allows time for you to prepare for your defense, which is hard to do while in jail. Also, as far as cruel and unusual punishment, over time the decency of punishments have changed from disembowelment, being pulled apart by horses, as well as chopping off fingers and ears. We now have electric chairs, lethal injections, lethal gases, and firing squads. This also prevents the government from torturing you in a strange or cruel way, such as cutting your hand off for stealing, or on the stocks where people can throw things and make fun of you.
Okay, you've been arrested for minor drug possession. By the looks of you, the bail will be posted at $1 million.
Whoa, man, don't you know about your Eighth Amendment? No excessive bail can be posted.
Okay, fine, but be back on this date for court.
3 weeks later.
Ah, here you are, villain. Since you didn't like the way we posted your bail, it only seems fair that we chop your hands off.
Whoa, wait, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you know no cruel and unusual punishments inflicted? The Eighth Amendment, bro?
Fine then, have it your way. 6 months in jail. Court adjourned. Hello?
Hey man, sorry to bother you, but I just got booked for something big, and to be honest with you, I don't really know my rights, so like, what am I guaranteed?
Hey man, no problem. As your attorney, I can tell you this. According to the Sixth Amendment, you are guaranteed the right to a speedy trial, where a trial must occur within a reasonable amount of time. A public trial. It can't be secretive or without public knowledge. This is not absolute, as trials can be closed to the public if it is deemed to be necessary for the accused to have a fair trial. A jury. You must be tried by an impartial jury of the accused peers unless the maximum jail term is less than 6 months. A notice of accusation. You must be told the nature and cause of the accusation. Confrontation. The accused is given the chance to cross-examine witnesses. A counsel. The accused has a right to counsel, an attorney, me, and must be given one if you can't afford one. And finally, self-representation. You have the right to represent yourself instead of having a counsel. As far as the Seventh Amendment goes, it guarantees you the right to have a trial by jury in most civil cases. It also guarantees the facts decided by those juries cannot be re-examined at a later date. This is known as double jeopardy. So don't worry about a pig stopping and arresting you under the court's ruling for the same case.
Wow, man, I didn't even know all that. Glad I'm paying you to be my counsel. I'll see you in court, bro.
Civil liberties are the rights and freedoms that provide an individual's specific rights, such as the freedom from slavery and forced labor, freedom from torture and death, the right to liberty and security, right to a fair trial, the right to defend oneself, the right to own and bear arms, the right to privacy, freedom of conscience, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly and association, and the right to marry and have a family. Civil rights, on the other hand, are a class of rights that protect individuals' freedoms from unwarranted infringement by the government and private organizations. They also ensure one's ability to participate in the civil and political life of the state without discrimination or repression.
14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States. In addition, it forbids states from denying any person life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or to deny any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of the laws. The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all naturalized people of the United States, and civil liberties and civil rights are given to all citizens. Freedom of religion. The Establishment Clause, which was intended to prevent any government endorsement or support of religion. Things that are not allowed: setting up a state church, passing laws which specifically aid one religion or aid religious generally, forcing or otherwise influencing individuals to attend or not attend church, punishing people for ascribing to a certain beliefs or disbeliefs or attending or not attending church, taxes levied to support religious institutions or activities, governmental participation in religious organizations or participation by religious organizations in governmental activities. Immigrants will be allowed to pray in school, but only if they are not forcing anyone to do so or trying to create a school-sanctioned session. The Torquiso v. Watkins case of 1961 definitely shows an example of this. Free exercise. This prohibits Congress from making laws that interfere with the expressions of Americans' religious beliefs. For example, Congress cannot make laws telling you when to pray, what day to go to church, or who you have to pray to. Instead, this clause guarantees you that you have the right to make these choices according to your own conscience. Immigrants are allowed to practice any religion that is not breaking any other American laws, so human sacrifice is a no-no. Reynolds v. America upheld the successful criminal prosecution of a prominent Mormon for practicing bigamy in Utah. Freedom of speech and press. I'm going to explain to you the concept of libel, slander, sedition, and obscenity. First, libel. Libel is a published false statement that is damaging to a person's reputation, basically a written defamation. Slander is the action or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. And sedition, the conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. A Supreme Court example for sedition would be Schneck v. United States. Charles Schneck was the secretary of the Socialist Party of America and was responsible for printing, distributing, and mailing to prospective military draftees during World War I, including 15,000 leaflets that advocated opposition to the draft. Among other happenings, this was taken to the Supreme Court under sedition and libel. The court, in a unanimous opinion, held that Schneck's criminal conviction was constitutional. The First Amendment did not protect speech encouraging insubordination since, quote, when a nation is at war, many things that may be said in a time of peace are such an adherence to its effort that their utterance will not be endured so long as the men fight, and that no court could regard them as protected by any constitutional right. In other words, the court held the circumstances of wartime permit greater restrictions on free speech than would be allowed during peacetime. Next up is obscenity. Obscenity is a legal term that applies to anything offensive to morals and is often associated with the term pornography. Obscenity includes pornography, but also may include nude dancing, sexually orientated commercial telephone messages, and such. U.S. courts have had a difficult time determining what is obscene. This problem has serious implications if an act or an item is deemed obscene. It is not protected by the First Amendment. Next is prior constraint. This is a form of censorship by the government where it prevents or stops publication of certain material or broadcasting of certain Symbolic speech. Symbolic speech is the expression of opinions or positions by means other than the spoken or written word. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech, but not only in the spoken and written form, it protects symbolic speech as well. Burning flags and making certain hand gestures are some examples of symbolic speech. things that are not protected within this amendment for symbolic speech. For example, burning a military document that is signed to you. An example of this would be the Supreme Court case of U.S. v. O'Brien, where he set his Selective Service Registration Papers, basically the draft, on fire on the steps of the South Boston Courthouse.
Freedom of assembly and petition. The right to peacefully assemble is basically self-explanatory. It states that any person has the right to gather a group of people as long as they are not disturbing the peace in any way. The right to association means that a person can belong to any lawful group or associate with any person or type of people that he or she chooses. A Supreme Court case would be Edwards v. South Carolina. It was a court case that explains the freedom of assembly and petition in action, showing that if you obey all of the rules and are not disturbing the peace, you can assemble freely. The Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment states that no person can go to court for a capital or infamous crime, such as murder, until the accused has stood in front of a grand jury and they indict that person with the crime. Then it goes to trial in court. Also, aside from a military court, no person can be tried for the same crime twice, as well as the right to not be compelled to be a witness to yourself. In other words, remaining silent. Eminent domain states that if your house is in the way of major construction, that the federal government has the right to take your property from you as long as they reimburse you for it.
Well, you made it through the whole video. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy learning of all the privileges of being a citizen.
Now be safe and enjoy the United States of America.